Set. Hi everybody. Happy October. Do you have a glass of courage for this evening, or of comfort, a tea or a cocktail or a sweet glass of wine? Here's to fall. It's lovely to see you. It's been a while. I haven't seen you all summer. Haven't been here all summer. It's been a whirlwind of this, that, and the other. I hope you've had a beautiful summer. Lots of changes, as the seasons change, many things change. But some are still the same. And I'm still here. I'm back. Tonight, I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've all been getting outside and enjoying this amazing early fall weather that we've been having. I see that rain is coming and these precious warm days. Speaking of warm days, it's like I'm up in my office and it's a little warm up here. But it's okay, it will cool down. It always does at night. So I hope you can hear me. I don't have my sound all the way up. Let me do that. Hold on. Let's see if screw it. If you can't hear me, let me know. But if you can hear me, that would be great. Anyway, so tonight, I think what I'm going to talk about, let me move the comments. There we go. Now I can see. So I've been thinking about how I should open this new season, this new October season. And many of you have reached out to me over time, even before I was doing these stories, asking about issues that you were having. And I know on this page, on this group page, my cousin Beth reached out asking for some advice for a friend of hers who was experiencing some frightening things in her young daughter. I see my hair sticking up. Oh well. In her young daughter's room. And so I was private messaging her some ideas of things to do and things that would hopefully help her friend and help her friend's child and her. And then some other people said, please do tell, what do you do? What do you do for that? And I think the most of the times that people have contacted me once they know that I have this ability to interact with spirit is, yikes, something's going on, what should I do? And so I thought that tonight I would not just give you a recipe for what you do if something scary is happening in between the veil or with spirit or with whatever. But I'm going to also sort of give a chronology of how I learned this, because this is not something that I learned from a book. Although these are gifts that I'm sure my ancestors have passed to me, no one sat me down and said, okay, in this situation, this is what you do. And in that situation, that is what you do. Nobody ever did that for me. And so I have figured it out myself over time, and my understanding of, and therefore response to, things that are unseen, things that are beyond the physical, has evolved as I have evolved as a human being. So I'll start with my very earliest interaction with and protection that I gave myself, or that I provided for myself. From the time I was born, I was in a very spirit-filled place. Some of the entities that were there were benign, but many were, or some were not, and some were frightening. And there was one in particular that from the time I was 5 or 6 years old, maybe 6, maybe 7, sharing a room with my older sister, Kate, there was a man in the closet, and we always made sure the closet door was closed, and he would open it and look out at us. Now, we would go to sleep at the same time, but I used to wake up in the middle of the night and know that there was something behind that door, and just lay there frozen. It wasn't really sleep paralysis because I was able to move. I just didn't want to move because my first protection was to be invisible, to not let them know I knew that they were there, and then maybe they wouldn't bother me. And this one man in particular, he was incredibly invasive, and not that, I was touched by things, I was licked by things, things breathed my energy and tasted my soul. This guy did not do any of that. He never stepped beyond the closet. He never touched me or harmed me really in any way. But what he did is he would connect to me, and I would feel what he was feeling. And as a very small child, what he was feeling was something I had never experienced. And it was horrible. It was awful. It was this hopeless, just anguish, just depth of sadness that I had never experienced. Just hopelessness and sorrow. And as he looked at me, I could feel all of that. And it was so unsettling. It wasn't frightening, but it was so unsettling. And so when my defense of trying to be invisible did not work, I learned a different tactic. And this, my guardian angel taught me. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I did this often. I still do. I still wake up in the middle of the night. I have my whole life. But I knew that it was there, and before I opened my eyes, I felt someone else in the room with me, and it was someone who was very comforting. Now, I grew up saying nightly prayers with my mom and dad, and calling on my guardian angel, and I believed I had a guardian angel. I still do. I believe that our angels and ancestors are all around us. I have sensed them, but I heard her say in the most wonderful, loving, comforting voice, "Don't open your eyes." And so I didn't. Now, I never did what the spirits told me to do. I refused to listen or even acknowledge that they were instructing me anything, but this I was going to heed. And it felt so familiar and so comfortable and sweet. And so I didn't open my eyes. And then she communicated to me. It was not her voice instructing, but she communicated to me how I could lift my soul or my spirit out of my body. And she just, I knew that all I had to do was I was very aware of my spirit energy and my physical energy, because I knew when I was being accosted physically, when I was being touched physically, and I knew when I was being accosted spiritually. So I was aware of the difference between the two. And so I just lifted myself out of my body. And instantly I was out of the house, and I was out in the front yard. And I played, and I could fly, and I could take steps and leap. If you had those flying dreams, this was a flying dream, but it was willed. I was doing it. I could see what was going on. I could see what cars were down on Cicero Avenue, and I could see the houses around, and I stayed out there until it started to get light, and then my guardian angel appeared again, but I never looked at her. I felt my hand in hers, but I never saw her. I didn't look at her. I don't know why. I just didn't. I just followed her and went out there. And then she took my hand again, and I awoke in my bed. And so after that, my guardian angel didn't come back to tell me, but she taught me how to do that. So in future episodes, if I would wake up at night, I just didn't stay. I would leave. And then I wouldn't have to feel his remorse, his grief, his anguish. I didn't have to listen for the other sounds in the house. I didn't have to worry about the slinky lady who walked up and down the hallway, or the other thing that, whatever it was, that I don't think was ever human, that just liked me to be afraid. I didn't have to deal with them. I would just go outside, and I did this for the rest of the time I was there. And it worked great. But that, you can't always do that. As a little child in bed, I could just leave and go. But I don't give that advice to anyone, although I did, because in my 40th year, I had this really powerful spiritual awakening. My Lyme disease had been treated. I was mobile. My head was clearer, and I was at this place where I was just engaging in the physical and the spiritual world on a level that I never really had. And so one night I dreamed an entire day from my childhood. I mean, it was like from breakfast, and I remembered what was for breakfast. I saw what I wore. I saw my family. I saw the toys. I saw everything in minute detail. It was like watching a movie from that day. And it wasn't a special day. It wasn't a birthday or a special day in any way. It was just a day like any other. I watched the spaghetti noodles splash on my t-shirt. And then I woke up at the end of that day, and it was so wonderful. I was like, I saw myself in that house. I saw my brothers and sisters and my mom and dad so young. And I thought, I think I want to go back to that house and see maybe if those spirits are still there. So instead of just going back to sleep, I did the meditation where I lifted out of my body, and it's called astral traveling, but it's disconnecting your spirit self or your astral self from your physical self. And I know that may sound crazy, but think about it. We're all physical. We're made of matter. Every one of our cells consists of molecules that are made up of atoms. And what are atoms but little moving energy? And so if your energy, you have an energetic body and you have a physical body. And if you can become aware of that energetic body and pull it away. And so I decided I was going to go back and just check out the old house at night, kind of creepy, with whoever was living there. And so I appeared, once I left my body, I pictured the front of the house, and there I was. But when I saw it, it didn't look like it was when I went to sleep that night. It looked like it did when I was a child. And so I didn't hesitate, and I went inside. And there was my childhood house. Very similar to as I had dreamed, only it was dark, it was night. Everyone was asleep. I was able to see my parents sleeping. I was able to see clothes drying on the back of chairs. My mom didn't have a dryer. I was able to see, the little toys still on the floor, the mess here and there strewn wherever. I was able to go upstairs. And I didn't go see my siblings. I went right to the room where I knew I was sleeping. And I wondered, because I was there and now I was just spirit, like the spirits in that house. Now, when I confront spirits and interact with spirits that to help people, I have both my physical self and my spirit self. And so I know that with that, I am way more autonomous, safely autonomous. But I wasn't afraid there. I thought if those spirits came in, I would be able to deal with them where they were, and I would be a ghost to them. Or maybe I didn't even know if they would see me, if they were just looping their own stuff. I really didn't know, but I felt as I was standing next to that bed, I saw my sister asleep next to me, and I was asleep, and I saw my little person self brow furrow and groan and move a little bit. And then I sensed the spirits coming closer and closer. And I knew that that man was right behind that closet door. And just as he reached for the handle on that closet door, I leaned down to my little sleeping self and I whispered, "Don't open your eyes." And I showed myself how to lift out of her body, my body, and go outside. And after I had done this, I stayed, but I stayed back. I was pretty startled because I remembered that happening and I never forgot that happening. It wasn't like this became a memory after I dreamed it when I was 40. This was something that I had remembered my whole life because I practiced it my whole life. And I knew my guardian angel had taught me. And there I stood by the side of my house in my spirit self thinking, I should get out of here. And then I remembered I have to help her get back in. And so I just waited until the sun started to rise and then helped her back into her body. And then I was not asleep in my bed, but when I come back from spirit travel, it feels, I don't abruptly do it. It's not a, and if you wake up, if you have a flying dream and you wake up startled like that, chances are you've been spirit traveling. But when I come back, it's more of a pushing together. And I opened up my eyes and I was like, holy crap. I was my guardian angel. I have no idea how that happened, but it did. And I'm here to tell you that from anecdotal evidence of my own, time is not linear because somehow I was able to go back and show myself how to do that. I don't know. But that works if you're in your own place and you want to escape something like that. I would not recommend that without guidance. I would recommend working on your spirit energy and recognizing it and knowing what it is, because it's something that will help you. Even now, that is how I protect myself with that energy. And one of the things that you can do to practice it is you rub your hands together and then close your eyes and pull them apart and wait till you can feel, and you'll feel it when you get close. Or start and pull until you can still feel it, and then you can feel it different places in your body, this energy that you yourself create. And this is a real thing. I have used this myself many, many times, and I have watched it work too. As a matter of fact, when I was just learning about it, Rachel was about 4 maybe, and Rachel and Mimi and I were on the L. I don't know if it was just the 3 of us, but it was after like a big 4th of July fireworks or something, and the line to the L to the public transportation was blocks long, and there was this group of young men, and they were gangbangers. They were white guys from the north side, but I taught on the north side, and the gangs were recruiting, and what they would do is they'd like their white pockets of their jeans, they with a magic marker put the color on it and then pull that pocket out so you'd see either the red or the blue or whatever it was, and that was their gang affiliation. So all these guys, I noticed, had their jeans pocket out with the same color, and I thought, we're dealing with some gangbangers. And when they're together, their entire goal is to impress one another. They don't care about anyone else. So they jumped the line, and I got everybody saying, no cuts, because I do that kind of thing. And so they were shamed out of the line, but they got in right behind us, and they ended up on the same train car. And the train was really crowded, a lot of people standing. And I had a seat, and Rachel, where there were like 2 seats, and then it was like 3 deep, because it was Mimi, it was myself and Rach and Mimi, and then there was a guy sitting right next to her, and then there were 2 other guys, and these were the gang guys sitting across, and then some of them standing around us. So we were pretty well surrounded by these guys, and I didn't know if they knew I was the one who yelled no cuts first, or if they were not happy with me already or what, but it just didn't feel really safe. But we're riding along, and then I can hear the one guy leans over to talk to the young man sitting next to my sister Mimi, and he says something to him, and then the other guy says something back, and then he says something back, and they both start to laugh, and Mimi says, what did they say? And I heard it, and so I said it out very loud so everyone on the train car could hear. I said, he said, where are her hands? And then the guy next to you said, not where I want him to be. And then the other guy said, where are your hands? And he said, not where they're gonna be. And the guy turned beet red, and everybody looks, and the one guy that had been saying that stuff stood up, and I don't know what he was gonna do, but I felt very threatened. And I had my sister and my baby daughter, well, my little daughter with me, and I walk with a cane. I have been, I can't say disabled, because other abled, let's say physically disabled perhaps, but I've always been able to do everything I needed to. But I was somewhat handicapped, and this guy stands up and starts to come towards me, and he had this furious expression on his face. And I didn't know if he was going to just scream at me, or if he was going to hit me, or if he had a knife. I had no idea. All I knew was that they were wired, and I had upset their fruit basket. And so as he lunged toward me, I turned my body toward him, and I took all that energy in my body. And this is the first time that it wasn't just from me, but it came through me. I felt this charge that came through the top of my head and came out just below my breastbone, right here in my solar plexus. And I turned to him, and I just pushed that energy out with a boom, and the guy went, ooh, and he fell backwards. He took a step backwards. He said, oof, like he'd been kicked in the gut. He had been kicked in the gut, but I hadn't touched him. It was my energy. And he looked terrified, and he sat back down in his seat, and the other guys are like, what happened? And he's just shaking his head, and he's trying not to make eye contact with me. I don't know what he thought. He was terrified. And I leaned over to him, and I said, that's my baby sister, and this is my baby daughter. Would you want someone saying that kind of stuff about your baby sister or about your daughter? And he says, geez, lady, I'm sorry. And I said, think about that before you treat somebody like that again. And he said, okay. And then the next stop, he gets up, and they all just followed him off. And Mimi says, what happened? And I said, I have no idea. I punched him with my energy. I pushed him back. So then I knew I could move that energy. And that is something that you can use to create a safety barricade, a bubble. So then I started practicing moving that energy out. I also watched somebody else do that fairly recently. Geraldine, I don't know if she's going to watch this, but we were all together for a debriefing after we were at the Piety Hill moving of the entity that we did, and sitting around the room, and she turned toward Carrie in the corner, who was sitting in her grandmother's chair, and all of a sudden the chair just tipped over. I mean, she was like, boom, and you could just feel this burst of energy go across the room and tip the chair over. So this is something that actually can happen. I would love to, it would be wonderful if someday science and technology could figure out how to read that movement of energy like that people can do, can push things and bend a candle flame without it being the air, or move grass, or punch somebody in the gut, or knock over a chair, because those are real things that have happened that I have done, witnessed. That's a true story. So that is one of the things I tell people to do. If you find yourself in a situation, not to punch somebody with your energy, but if you find yourself in a situation where you get that, that feeling there's something amiss, the first thing I do, and the first thing you could do, is remember that you have the most powerful autonomy, because you are both spirit and physical. And think of your aura, think of that energy, that thing where you can feel your hand before it touches your face, and not the heat. I'm not talking about the heat, I'm talking about the energy. Where you can push that out just a little bit and create a bubble for yourself. And for me, I have no idea if something could invade that bubble, but I can tell you right now it never has. And part of that is my confidence in that situation, that I am stronger, I am autonomous, I can be in both places, and you can only be in one. So back off and set up that perimeter of your own energy. I also call on my angels and my guides and my spirits and ancestors. I'm forever calling on my angels and ancestors to stand with me and guide me, lead me in the right direction, and protect me. And so I just call on them. Now, some people will say a prayer. I call on Jesus to protect you, or call on Allah, or whatever your belief system is. Call on whatever gives you the confidence that you remain autonomous and safe, and call them in. And it's the knowing of that keeps you safe. It's not Jesus in the room. It's not my ancestors in the room. It is the knowledge that I have that nothing there is going to get in my space, because I am not allowing it, and my protectors are not allowing it either. And then you're not vulnerable. What happens with people is, you hear that banging on the wall or whatever, and you go, isn't that what you do when you're scared? You pull in? Well, when you do that, you are pulling your energy in. Instead of that, what you do is you hear something scary, and the first instinct is to breathe in. Stop that and blow out. Inhale through your nose, even when you feel something looming or you see that dark thing in the corner, and blow out toward it. And as you do that, push yourself out. Maintain your connection with yourself. Don't suck anything in. Don't suck your energy in. Expand it. And then, if something is scary and you feel like negative energy there, the absolute best thing I have found to do is to laugh. I know that sounds crazy. I know that just sounds crazy. You'll see it though, when people are scared, they giggle. Right? Okay, think about laughing. You can't laugh. I mean, there is something as tall as your ceiling. You can definitely make it out in the darkness. It's darker than the dark. And you have this terrible foreboding feeling. And you are hearing banging on the wall. And to laugh, you want to go and pull in, get under the covers. Well, blow out and laugh, because when you laugh, watch this. Picture your energy. And start by faking it, and then keep building it. And that laughter, that energy will dissipate other energy in the room. One of the reasons that telling a good joke before giving a speech and getting people to laugh is not to put them at ease or to put yourself at ease. It is to bust up the energy. Laughter busts up tension. You know, it does. And in the room where there is something energetic that you feel is not something you want to deal with, laugh it out of the room. This is what I have told people multiple times before I could get there and try to figure out what it was that was coming into their room at night, and then help send whoever it is on their way. If you wake up at night and there's somebody standing at the foot of your bed and you don't want to ask them who they are, or you know it's your dad, say, "Dad, I'm trying to sleep, leave me alone." Laugh. Laugh, laugh, laugh. And then you have to change that energy in that space as well. And you can do that. People do all kinds of stuff with crystals, and different crystals have different properties, and there's a whole industry of selling you various crystals for different things, and different colored crystals for different things, and blah, 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 and everything else. And yes, it's true, because crystals, the way that they are made is they break up energy because of their molecular form, okay? But I gotta tell you, the absolute most potent crystal that you could use in a situation where there is something that you're not comfortable with in your house is salt. And you want a coarse ground salt. Sea salt works great. I wouldn't use Morton's iodized salt, but if that's all you got, dude, pour it in a bowl. You could use pink salt. I wouldn't use expensive salt. I just get a very, coarse grain sea salt and put it in a bowl next to your bed. And that salt will dissipate any negative energy. You can put it in, I keep one on my altar. I keep a small bowl of salt. I also mix it with hyssop. Hyssop is a holy herb. These are things that I've learned over time, and learning a little bit more about root work and herb work. But I'll blend the salt with hyssop, and then I'll bless it. And by blessing it, I'm just putting my own energy in it, and then I pull the energy out and put it in myself, and then place that where in places around the room to break up that negative energy. And sometimes many quote-unquote hauntings are bundles of negative energy that get blocked in places, that get created through fear or anger or trauma, and then kind of bounce around a lot. They aren't people who need to go to the light. They're bundles of energy. People, when there's a haunting that is a person, it feels it's a little bit different, but very often you can, like if I go and help a dead person leave a place, that energy is still there, and so it's got to be cleaned out. It's got to be cleansed from the spot. And you start with the salt, and that's something you can do before I can get there and help you, or somebody else can get there and help you. You can also, if there's something, that outside your room, this has happened like in a hotel that I stayed at with Bunce once. It was the weirdest place. I mean, I walked in and it was like, okay, we're not sleeping here. I'm not sleeping here at all. And it was being renovated, but we were in this like empty wing way down this long hall, and it was old, and our room was right adjacent with an adjoining door to this suite that was like the presidential suite or whatever, and had all this fancy stuff in it. And it was connected to that, but it was closed, so our part of the room was closed off for that. But walking down that hall, it felt like something terrible had happened very nearby, and there was somebody that wanted to tell me about it, and we were just there for the night. I hadn't come to help anybody that night, and as we were walking down the hall, I could feel it coming behind me. And as I walked, you know, I have my autonomous light self. I always try to walk with light. I push light ahead of myself wherever I go, especially in a new setting. I just kind of walk in with light. And that may be why things see me. I kind of light up to maybe things beyond the veil. They notice that I'm there, but this thing was following behind. And I had brought, you know, I don't always carry this stuff, but usually when I need it, I have it. I brought certain oils and I brought salt, and I put my 3 X's of protection oil on the door to the hallway to keep anything out there. And I also blocked with the 3 X's of protection oil on the door to the suite next to us. And then I took the salt that I brought and I just put a little line of salt underneath each door, because you know the hotel, you got a little crack under there. Just a little line of salt under each one, and to keep anything out. And all night long it was moving up and down that hall, and I could feel it moving around in the room next to us, but it never came in. It was the weirdest place. Oh my God. So there's the other thing. You can use oils, and you can get protection oils. There's a place that I get them. There's a couple of places. In person, I go to a place called Alchemy Arts in Chicago, and they have all kinds of hoodoo supplies and witchy supplies and oils and things. But there's also online, it's called luckymojo.com, and you can order all kinds of things, from candles that they prepare specifically for certain things, to oils and bath salts and washes and everything that you would ever need at Lucky Mojo. And so I get those prepared for what they're for. I've learned how to mix some of them, but I'm not going to go into that at all today. But certain herbs and certain oils carry certain properties according to, you know, hoodoo, according to traditional culture. And so you mix those and you make yourself a blend. But the other thing that you can do, like if there's something in your space, clean it out. And I know everybody like goes and, you know, you go get sage and you sage a place, and then everything settles down. You know, I've had people tell me, you know, there was all kinds of, I was seeing things or hearing noises and stuff, and so I got a sage stick and I smudged the whole place and everything settled down for a while, and now it's like back. Well, that's going to happen because the way sage works, what I've found, what I understand, what I have learned from my own experience, let's put it that way, is sage works like when you smoke a beehive. When you smoke the beehive, it settles the bees down so that you can pull out the supers and get the honey and get them where they need to go, move the honeycombs, whatever. And then when the sage smoke is gone, after a little while, they're back out buzzing around. Well, sage will do that with spirit energy as well. It calms everything down, but it does not get rid of anything. You can go all around your house and do that. For that, you actually have to move the energy out. And the way that I do that is I don't use sage. There's a combination. You can use sage, cedar, sweetgrass combination to help as a cleansing thing, but a really good cleansing smoke is Palo Santo. And please, if you're going to get Palo Santo, because it's from South America, make sure you buy it from a source that takes already felled trees. We don't want to decimate the trees. Anyway, so find something that is responsibly sourced. You can get it online. And so I'll use the Palo Santo. And when I use the Palo Santo, I will start in one corner of the house and I light it. And Palo Santo has this amazing smell. It's also antimicrobial, which is good too. So I will push the smoke and my intention and start in one corner and move it and I move the energy and I close it, go around the room. And if I'm going to put something on, I will go counterclockwise around the room. And then I will back out the door and smoke that door and make sure that whatever was in that room has moved out next to me. And then I pull it like when you sweep the floor. You know, you don't just sweep here and then leave it and then go over and sweep there and leave it and then go over and sweep there. No, you sweep it together. You keep sweeping it together. And that's what I do using the Palo Santo and the energy around the house or apartment or whatever, starting in one place and getting all the way to the door. And then open the door and sweep it out, and I push it out. I push it out with my energy in my hands. You can literally use a broom and put your intention and sweep it out towards the door. This is an old hoodoo tradition, and I've recently learned from Era that after you sweep it out, you set the broom by the door with the upside down, you know, with the broom up, and that will block things out the door. That's a hoodoo thing. But what's doing it is not the broom, it's your intention. It's like, done, stay out. It's like your hand up. Nope, stay out. So you sweep things away, and then you open the windows and clear it out. And then, after you've cleared everything out, you have to reset your own intention into the place. If you just sweep things away, you're not going to have an empty space for long, okay? So then you set it, and you use salt, and you use oils that are pleasant to you. You know, if you want to put lavender around, or you want to hang bundles of things around, whatever, you just make it your own place. There are certain washes that you could put in and oils that you could put in, like mop water, and then you mop the floors and clean it and set yourself in there. One of the things I tell folks after I clear out a place for them is to go into each room and either, if they're not a singer, tell them laugh in each room, laugh toward every corner, you know, fill it with your voice, with your sound, smile in every place. If you're a singer or a musician, get music in every corner of your house, sing in every room, move through every room, and sing in that room, and that puts you there and fills it with your essence and doesn't leave room for something else to come in and you take up your space. It's your space. You can protect it that way. So we've got the oils, the wash, the sweeping, the moving the energy, the salt. Let's see. I should go and see if anybody has any questions. What about the cougar sighting? Oh man, that's Bridget. Yeah, I just got back from up north, from northwest Wisconsin, and I had never been able to go in the fall while I was a teacher, and these past 2 years, Bunce and I have been able to go. It was remarkable. Sherry and Gary, a couple of friends of ours, came up, and one night we went out, and the wolves, we were looking at stars, and there was a pack of wolves. It was so close. I'm sure it was just beyond the house, and it was a bunch of them, and they were howling like crazy, like, oh. And then a pack of coyotes a little further across the other side by the lake start yipping back at them. So they're like yipping and howling, and it was the most remarkable thing. It was this powerful thing, and it was just, you know, there was an eagle that flew over. But as we were leaving, you know, I was talking about what a wonderful connection back to nature it was in the place up north, and I'll tell you what I do when I go there to keep it quiet. The last thing that happened as we were leaving is I saw a cougar, big cat, run from the road off into the woods. And I was like, oh, and Bunce missed it. He was like looking down at something, and I said, look, and it was gone. And so when we stopped at the gas station in little town Minong, he asked, he said we saw a cougar, and she says, oh, you see him all the time. We see him all the time now. So I got to see a cougar, and that's something, that animal energy is something else too. When our animal brothers and sisters allow us to experience them on their terms and their turf, it's very much how I feel when I interact with a ghost that once was a living human, who allows me to interact with it in its turf, in its world. And so my appreciation, the same kind of appreciation that I can have for the cougar, or for the wolves, or for the coyotes, or the trumpeter swans, or the eagle, that same appreciation I bring when I talk to spirit, whether it's of a once living human spirit, or once human spirit, or whether it is a spirit, an energy that never was human. We share this place. We all share this place. And once we realize that, then it's way less terrifying, and it's just more awe-inspiring. I have never encountered anything evil. People ask me that, and there are things that I have encountered that could very well be interpreted as evil, but I do not see them as evil. There are people that this past summer I was driving, and I came within 20 feet of a timber wolf where it looked me square in the eye, and I just got butterflies like the first time you look in your baby's eyes. Just this feeling that could be, people can think wolves are evil and just want to kill wolves because they're dangerous, but they're not dangerous if we allow them to be who they are. If we're not, they can be dangerous, but they don't have to be. Same thing with spirit energy. It can feel dangerous. It can feel very, very scary. But just like looking in the wolf's eyes, or spotting the cougar, instead of being frightened by it, I just felt a kinship and an understanding of it. And that's what I try to bring to the spirit world. And so if you're in a situation where you're up close and personal with some kind of an entity, instead of immediately thinking it's terrible and dangerous and evil, think, oh, there is something else there. And then, like I told you earlier, put up your energy and say, I am autonomous. I see you. I recognize you for who you are. Back up. Stay back. Don't come any closer. And your intention can do that. I use symbols too for myself as reminders. I wear amulets when I go into a place where I'm going to deal with an unknown spirit or an unknown ghost. And this is something that a lot of people will do. You take, like, you have people with their crucifix or their St. Michael medal or whatever it is that you use. It isn't that object that protects you. It's that object that reminds you that you are protected. And what protects you is your guides and your angels and your protectors, your spirit protectors, who are very adept in the realm of whatever you are confronting. And the minute you call them in, they know exactly what to do. And your own autonomy between your physical and spirit self. And touching my amulets or touching my antakaranas, I remember. It's just a little reminder, It's like a string on your finger so you don't forget. So if you have something like that, then use that. If you have a very specific prayer or mantra to do, use that. I always prepare before going into something I know. If something happens, like walking into the hotel and something is there, then I just go with the flow and deal with it as I go. But if I am going specifically to deal with some kind of a haunting or spirit energy going on, I prepare myself very mindfully. And you can too, even if it's in your own home. I sit down, I clear my head, I call in my protectors, I pull energy from the universe and feel it go through my body and leave it there, through my feet, down to the center of the earth, and then pull up earth energy. And when I have the universe energy and earth energy coming through me, I close it at my feet and at my head, and I put it inside of me, leaving something open so that anything I need can come in and help me. And I do this mindfully. I will put very specific oils on that my protection oils in my palms, and I press my hands together and I say, good spirit of the sacred place, grant me blessing, grant me grace. Keep me safe in night and day and hold me ever in your sway. Spirits of water, earth, and green, grant me sight for things unseen. And then I place those oils wherever I feel like I will need them. And as I move into that space, those pungent oils, I walk in with that aroma, reminding me that I have called on the spirits of the sacred place to be with me and to keep me safe. So I go in unafraid, not arrogant. I'm still learning about ego. That is my Achilles heel. I have to, every time I go do something, I need to check my ego and realize that that I am just a moving part of the bigger thing. And it helps get through. So those are some of the things that I do and that I tell people about. The most useful one right now, if you're ever in a scary place, laugh, 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 laugh. Laugh, 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 and then find the salt. So, I don't know what time it is. Let me look and see. I could go on and on and on. What time we got? Oh, it's almost 10 o'clock. I guess I'll stop there. Unless there's somebody who's watching that has a specific question, I can answer a question if you have it. You can also please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I have had, although there are times that I do turn my phone on silent at night, but if I'm working with someone that is dealing with something in their house before I can get there, I leave my phone on, so it's like call me day or night and just send me a text and I'll help you get through what's going on and talk you through the scary part. Fear makes us vulnerable. And I know that that's crazy because some of this stuff is scary as hell. But try to look at it that it is not something that isn't supposed to be here. It's something that you just haven't seen before here. I saw my first cougar up north a couple of days ago. That doesn't mean that they're not always there, right? So these things are everywhere. And when we first encounter them, they could be startling, they could be terrifying. Laugh it away at first. Set up your salt, get your crystal if it's energy, if you're feeling like something is negative. Even if you're feeling like there's just a darkness, an oppressive darkness all the time, get some salt. Put a bowl of salt by your bed. It's gonna clear the air. I know they have those pink salt lights. I think those are brilliant. Whoever came up with that, where it's like a night light that's surrounded by a block of pink salt. What a brilliant idea, because the light diffuses through the salt, and that will really help with energy in your place. So I suppose I'm going to end here. I think Friday nights are probably going to work out best. 9 o'clock seems to be okay Eastern time. If there are any changes, I will let you know. I will save this to this page, and then I will also put it on my YouTube channel, on Ghost Stories with Spooky Ms. T.I. YouTube channel, if you would rather watch it there, and I'll post that here too. So stay well, be good to one another. Don't be afraid of what you haven't seen before. Be in awe, but don't be stupid. Please don't just go ghost hunting and look for it. Oh, for God's sakes. Okay, take care. Be well. Mwah. Cheers.